all you need. Now let me show you how to set up the V2 and our GB system. I'll just go to POS application settings and then POS device setup. Here, I already add a POS system here, but I can show you how it can be, how the configuration can be done. First, you need to select the printer type. We're using a serial port POS system here, so I select serial port, and then in the device drop-down menu, you can select the POS device number here, and this number here is mapped to our camera screen. So if you want to have your POS information displayed on a specific camera, you have to select it here. I'll just use the default setting. I'll just put the POS information on the channel 1. And then here you can select what kind of printer you have. We use an Epson printer here, so I'll just select Epson. And the COM port I used to for my V2 box. And you can see there's a button at the middle. Here is exactly the same settings we used in the hyperterminal demo. So this is where you need to type the information of your POS, the baud rate, and the data bits, parities, etc. If you don't have this information, you will not be able to see anything on the screen, or you may see just a bunch of gauge characters. And we'll talk more about that later. I'll just continue with this setting here. I'll just click on OK and change. And here you can see the POS information is superimposed on our camera screen. You can use exactly the same steps to set up V2E box or data capture version 1.04 when using serial or parallel connection. So I will skip the setup for those here. Now let me show you how to set up the V2E with Ethernet connection. With Ethernet connection, you can connect up to 16 POS systems to our DVR. Again, each POS system requires its own V2E box. I'm going to show you how to set up now. V2E, just like other internet products, like routers or gateways, it has its own web interface for configuring and setup. Our default IP address is 192.168.0.100, and for security reasons, you also need to type in the port numbers here, and that's 3999. I'll just use my default username and password here. That's admin and 1234. Now click OK. This is V2E's web interface. And here you can decide a kind of network environments you have, and you can switch between fixed IP mode and DHCP mode. You can also change your passwords here. You can also update firmwares, although we don't recommend you do that unless there is a problem, and it's recommended by us. Otherwise, don't change your firmwares. So you can do all kind of settings regarding V2Es here. I'll go with the fixed IP configuration first. So the DHCP client, I'll set it to disable. In the IP address field, that's where you assign IP address to each V2E box. If you have more than one V2E box, let's say if you have 16 of them, you will need to have 16 different IP addresses for each one of them. If I use 100 here, maybe my next one will be 101, 102, 103, and so on. And the subnet mask and default gateways are just use your own network settings. If you have different configurations, you also need to change them here. These are our default settings. Now I'll just go along and click submit. And I'll go back to our main system. I'll add another POS systems to our system using B2E box. And here, just like the serial port settings, but here I'll choose TCP/IP port because I'm using Ethernet connection, and I'm going to show this POS information on another channel. I'll put it on channel 3. And again, because this POS system uses Epson printer as well, I'll just select Epson as my POS module. And you can see the button in the middle is changed. Now it shows the settings for data captured IP address settings. Because I disabled the DHCP client, I'll just type in the IP I assigned to my B2E box, which is 192.168.0.100. If you want to add more POS B2E box to our DVR, you just need to continue to repeat these steps here. And here I can input the device port, log, and password here. If you change device port in the web interface, you will need to modify the device port here as well. If you use 3000, you need to change it to 3000 here. And because I'm using default password 1234, I'll just go along with it and click OK. And now you can see I have these informations on my channel 3 screen. So with Ethernet connections, you have two modes to choose from. One is fixed IP, and the other one is DHCP. We support both of them. The fixed IP mode is easier to configure. As you can see, I just need to assign IPs to each B2E box, and then I just enter the same IP address in the configuration page. But you have to do all of them manually. If you have 16 POS system, yes?
I think I missed something. When you're initially connecting to the web server in the B2E,
yeah.
You put in a default IP address.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have two out there, which ones are you going to connect to a specific one?
If you have,
You put them on one at a time. Is that what you're doing? Yeah, the network one at a time.
One at a time, and then you change the IP address for that one, and you add the second to your name, change the IP address.
so you have more, you have to do it one by one. Just like our IP module. If you want to assign addresses, you have to do it one by one. So fixed IP mode is easier to configure, but you have to do them manually. If you have 16 of them, you have to repeat the same steps for 16 times. And we also support DHCP mode, which our B2E can get IP addresses from a DHCP server in your network. And besides that, if you want to use DHCP mode, you also need to install a program called local DDNS server. It's an utility application on our installation CD-ROM. You need the application to be installed either on the DVR or another PC in your LAN. They must be in the same LAN. And so now, I'll tell you more about the local DDNS server. If you want to connect using DHCP mode, local DDNS server must be installed on the DVR or separate PC at the same LAN. And local DDNS server can be found again on our installation CD. And I'm going to show you